Well, why don't we go ahead and get started then? If, again, Karen's not gonna be here and McKenna, hopefully she, again, she said she was gonna be here, which she was wondering what room. I didn't email her till about 5:30. I saw her email, but. So really, as always, first thing on the agenda, the minutes from our last meeting. So if anybody had any questions or any thoughts on those. And if they're all good, if someone wanted
Motion
to,
to accept the minutes as presented.
awesome. Perfect. So now I just have to remember now the new policy. I gotta send them to Jean, so.
Send them to Sarah, she can send them. to
Send-
Jean.
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
So it's getting, so these meetings are so much better when I just say, Lindsay.
And I'm happy to
Time
announce.
time for the update, so.
I'm happy to announce I don't have too much. The majority of what I'll be talking about is the Parks Master Plan implementation review, and then that segues into our budget request for 2023. As far as any activities and updates.
And Lynn, just quick, we are recording, right? Is there
Yes,
a?
we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's
Okay.
McKenna.
Oh, there she is.
Hi, McKenna. Okay, anyway, so as far as like updates from last month, we've just been working on our regular maintenance items. Andy and Sam have been working on getting the lattice around Babcock to make it look really nice. The electric work at Outhouse was completed for all the upgrades, so we should have no issues when it comes to the future music and movie nights, which is really exciting. We are also applying for a grant that has a 50% match for ADA accessible trails. So paved trails at Outhouse, Blue Heron, part of the Auburn Trail around Outhouse, crossing over, oh now, what road is that?
Yeah.
To the berm, south of the airport.
Oh, County Road 30.
Sorry, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Including Pierce Park and Ononda. And this is something that will be done over a period of 5 years for completion. If the grant is accepted, like I said, it's a 50% match, and that is a huge burden off of the taxpayers and the town. So we're working with MRB to do that application. Everything is due Friday, and we're in really good shape with that. And then we find out in the next couple months. And it's something, so this year we did have on our list to do the pathway around the playground and do part of Outhouse. If we get that grant, we're actually gonna hold off on that work because we can't, you can't pay yourself back. So if we do that work now, we won't get money for that grant. If we hear the approval in September, we can start doing it. Chances are we're gonna hear back in November and those funds would end up rolling over, just so you guys are aware. But I would love to get into our implementation guide for review. So I thought this was a really good idea for us to go through. I went through redlined items that were complete. I also put notes for anything that we have in the 2023 budget request for remaining work, things that are in progress, just so that way the committee is aware of just where we stand. So I also want to remind everybody, 2 out of the 5 years of this implementation plan was COVID, which put a pause on a lot of our projects. So if you look at the timelines, it's going to show there isn't a ton of progress going on or where we should be for 2022. But I do take into account those 2 years where pretty much all of our projects were halted. So if we want to go through it line by line, we can. If you guys want to take a look at it yourself, that's fine. Also, if you have questions, you can let me know. What do you got? How do you want me to do that? I can go park by park.
One thing, and again, and right out of the beginning of the general proposed recommendations, I think we just got to make sure that this was what, hey, here's some great ideas. That doesn't necessarily mean that every one of these are things that we had to finish as a part of the master plan, but these were, and I don't remember now the company that did the master plan. It wasn't MRB, it was, I can't remember, but again, these are recommendations on, and we thought a lot of them were pretty good ideas, and maybe some of them, have changed over the years. And
which I think that's what we're gonna find when
Right.
we look through this. For example, Blue Heron Park, As mentioned in last meeting, that whole vision has changed. I
Mhm.
am planning a meeting so that way Shauna, the town planner, and Doug can come and give a presentation on Uptown. Hopefully for August meeting, but I know we talked that some people might not be able to make the August meeting, so September might be
September,
more
yeah.
ideal. And then we can re-review this plan on, do we need to have edible garden beds at Blue Heron? Does that make sense? So on and so forth. But same with obviously Outhouse West.
You know, it might be
you know?
able to good to go through park by park, just the way you kind of have it
Yeah.
laid out, that way, does anyone have any questions, and then
That's
just keep going,
perfect.
don't you think?
Yeah,
Then,
that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
then,
So let's go through Onada. So the septic replacement, the majority got done. There is one septic tank that needs replacement. It's been giving me issues the past 2 summers, so I am putting that in as a budget request for 2023. Trail improvements, to me, that's ongoing. Next year I am budgeting for the $5,000 for trail improvements, whether that's the mulching, fixing the platform. I mean, that $5,000 is gonna go fast.
Yeah,
And it's not something that has been continuously budgeted each year. So we're gonna move forward with that. ADA compliant pathways, again, that we're in progress with that. And the grants is a big part of that piece, but obviously that is a priority to get that done for Ononda, so that way people can get to the cabins and halls. We do have our capital improvement plan, which has the cabins, hall improvement, roof replacements. It's on a list. So we are planning on replacing either 3 lakeside cabin roofs with the metal roofs or the game room roof. We're gonna look at the age before we make that determination, obviously prioritizing which ones were older. And this year we did complete Crouch Hall and Holden Pavilion, which were 2 of the worst down there, and they look great. So really excited to continue with that.
they'll all be metal when they come to be replaced. It's just-
Yes,
so,
yes.
okay,
It
makes
just,
sense.
it makes way
Mhm.
more sense,
Yeah.
especially for that location, with
Right.
the staff, the trees,
Yeah.
I
they
mean,
shed
the
everything,
wind.
they shed snow, they
Yes.
shed needles.
Yeah, 'cause
they-
there is one down there that's pretty, a lot of moss and stuff on it. so,
Yes.
yeah.
It's part of the 3 that I'm pushing for my request for 2023. And then the life on those are a lot longer than the
Mhm.
shingles, so, we'll move forward with that. The ADA accessible beach component, that seemed very vague to me on here. I don't know if it meant like a path to the beach, or I wasn't quite sure what that meant.
I think that was, if I remember, was some kind of wheelchair access.
To get into
whether
the
it be-
water?
Yes. yeah.
Okay. And then I didn't cross off here, but we do have a concrete dock pad for the ADA beach component, I guess, in a sense. We have that pathway and the sidewalk that extends to both docks. And then we could easily just segue that down, I guess, into the ADA accessible beach component.
I think that's I don't know if it's a budget item for next year, but I think that really should be a focus of some of our discussion,
Mhm.
maybe through the winter, is
Like, what does
How
it
do
look
we make
like?
the water area. We talked at the previous meeting about the little, like a type of wheelchair that could roll into the water,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or, I mean, the tough thing in a lake is anything you put down, all the rocks wash up on it. I don't know,
Yeah, that would
you know.
require some maintenance.
right,
Which is fine.
right, so, but I don't want to lose sight of that, something to make the water itself more accessible.
Maybe look at some other parks and see what they do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the point. Does that make my thing beeping?
Heart monitor.
I was curious.
Randy's trying to find the link. His agenda disappeared.
So if we go to phase 2 under Ononda Park, I am budgeting in 2023 for a kiosk down at Ononda. And then the playground improvements. for the
Could I just add,
Yeah,
what are we thinking about for a kiosk? Because that was, I saw that mentioned really for all the park. Do we have like a common theme, a common
yeah,
design?
yeah. So right now we're working with, it's the Bergman Associates. They're doing the wayfinding sign throughout the town.
Okay,
And realistically, it's gonna start at Blue Heron. It's gonna be digital kiosks where they can communicate. We can put up a event happening in this park. It doesn't have to be just focused on Ononda. And we found a really good company that does that, but that's still in progress. And
Okay.
maybe Ononda is not on the priority list. Maybe we just stick with, Blue Heron, Outhouse, so on and so forth.
well, that idea, I mean, that adds a whole new component, that electronic, that it can change. Because that was my worry about a kiosk at Blue Heron right now is if the whole focus of the park changes,
Mhm.
the whole kiosk would change, but.
Yeah, no, we're thinking as if Uptown is already there with what the kiosk is gonna look like.
Okay.
And then actually it follows with the city too. So the kiosks are gonna be starting at Blue Heron Park. You'll see some in the city at the pier, and it's a connection. Well, it's wayfinding. It's a connection point. Playground improvements, the new 2 to 5-year-old set. I did not budget for this year. I didn't see it as a priority right now, especially with our upland plans going
Yeah.
on. So I held off on that. And then winterizing the cabins, again, that's part of our upland concept plan. The trail for McJanet Park, so that's in progress. We just put in that offer for the purchase of the adjacent property to McJanet, which gets us closer to having trail to Ononda. We've had conversations with the neighbors again, so that is a work in progress. But I don't foresee that happening for another couple years for the full trail completion, but we're getting parts of it. And then same thing, it's repetitive with cabins, halls, improvements and roof replacements. That's just an ongoing timeline for our capital projects, which we have all on a list stated. Anything that you guys have requests for 2023 for Ononda specifically, or that you guys would like to see on there?
Thinking it, and I forgot to mention this when we talked the other day. So we've budgeted for a cabin.
Mhm.
It's a portable cabin. Could we buy it and set it somewhere in storage?
Problem is the utilities, because the prefab cabins that we're gonna purchase require utilities, because they each have a bathroom, we would have to have
Bathroom,
water
electric,
hooked
But I
up.
mean, even do we purchase it and set it somewhere not being used? If it's in the budget and that money has to be spent.
Or we could use the money this year for something else.
I didn't know what the options, I didn't know if it was money that had to be used or if it,
Yeah, I mean, because we can't encumber the funds into next year unless we have like a purchase order set aside,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Oh.
And I don't know that we're ready for that.
okay. Okay. But there wouldn't be any issue, I mean, that money being used for some other,
Oh, no.
as rolled into part of, okay.
I could find
Okay.
things to
What are
do.
they,
I'm
what's
sure you
budgeted
might.
like 50,000?
30,
30,000.
yeah.
I mean, there's 30,000 worth of cabin improvements you could do at Ononda. We're not even worried about it, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
Roofs,
Right,
septic, right,
all
yeah,
that.
Everyone good with- Okay. So onto Pierce Park. So right now we're in the process of getting.
oh, wait, let's
Oh,
throw
yeah,
this out
yeah,
there,
yeah.
quick reminder. Dan, pickleball,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right,
yeah.
is it this year's budget or is that next
It'll
year's
be for
budget?
2023.
Okay,
So just the feedback from
Ononda.
the committee,
Yeah.
actually got our wheels turning a little bit. So we're looking at getting, the basketball and tennis courts resealed and relined for pickleball.
Great.
So, Andy got quotes, last week? So it's definitely something we can do, and we're putting it in the budget, for next year, putting in a budget request for that. I think it'll be heavily used, especially with how hot pickleball is
Yeah,
right
What if we
now.
use the money for the cabin for pickleball?
So that's the thing,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
we
yeah,
could
yeah.
Right
absolutely
there,
do
yeah,
that.
get it done, yeah.
Yeah.
so that, and down at Ononda, that will be a repaving, right, or resurfacing
Resurfacing,
of the
sealing
tennis
and
court.
lines,
and
yeah.
new lines. Will it be lined for both or just for pickleball?
It'd be for both.
Okay.
Yep, so that way people have an option
Okay.
to do both.
Yeah.
I've seen it done in a couple different
Yeah.
parks like that. And then what's not on here, but what I started looking into was also air conditioning in King Hall, Crouch and Schoolhouse, just to get quotes to see if it's even something we want to entertain or look at. It's pretty reasonable. Schoolhouse would cost a little over 4,000. Crouch was around 11,000 and King Hall was around the same price. So I mean, that could also potentially be something we could use that cabin rental or, the cabin money for too. I'm at least putting it in the budget for next year to do at least one.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, so Pierce Park softball field improvements, Andy's working on getting quotes on how much it would cost or what it would take to get that softball field back into some decent shape. And then what that maintenance will look like
Yeah.
going forward. So right now it's not budgeted for next year, but there's a possibility that it might be feasible for us to put in the budget, depending on what that comes back at. And then remove poison ivy along the creek.
The demand is such that that softball field will get utilized.
I personally can't gauge that because, I mean, the past two summers that we've been here, obviously no one has used it because
It's in bad shape,
it's really,
Yeah.
it's not a softball field anymore.
right?
When Andy was getting quotes, the person who was giving the quote said that they would actually use it if
If it was usable.
it was usable,
I
yeah.
think they'd use it, yeah.
Especially that community, I
Sure.
mean, that they live a little bit farther where they're not coming to, the city to use
Right.
their baseball fields or anything like that, so. And I know that people in Cheshire want that park to be taken care of and not be
utilized
the
and-
sore thumb of the town of Canandaigua.
Right.
I feel like the poison ivy removal, that's just an ongoing, that's gonna be an ongoing battle.
Yeah.
ADA compliant paths to the playgrounds and pavilions, so the path to pavilion is number one, and the playground, there is a path there. We are applying for a grant to have it paved, so that way it's more accessible. We would have to do some work to get the path from the parking lot to pavilion number 2. There's like a block of concrete missing for the connection, and there's a grill right in the way, so it's a little silly. Yeah, and then the walking path along the creek, we're just gonna do a perimeter right now, like so that way it's a walking path. Just again, based on the feedback from a couple of our community members that came to our meeting and suggested that.
So for 2023, then in the budget's gonna be money to add a walking path all the way around.
Well, that's gonna be part of the grant, so
Oh,
it may
okay,
not be for
okay.
next year, but it'll
Okay.
be within the 2023 to 2027 plan.
Okay,
Depending on, the funding and what we can get, it could happen next year.
Okay.
But at least by 2027.
but I think that's awesome. I mean, with the people that came and asked about that,
It's perfect.
about a walking path around there now, we're looking at a
Well, there's
walking,
not many
a paved walking path,
sidewalks
right?
in Cheshire, so
Right.
it makes sense that there would be a need for something like that. In my opinion, the volleyball court, it says volleyball court improvements, the volleyball court there is in fine condition. We turn it over, the sand is still good, the net is fine. Unless you guys think otherwise, I'm not really sure what else we could do with that.
4,000 seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Sure does. I say people don't use it, but the last time I said that about Pierce, the next day 10 people were playing basketball, so,
Yeah.
there's a chance it gets used. And then add parking, and then again, the roof replacements, again, that's all in the capital improvement plan. The parking lot is in need of some work and restriping. I just don't think that's something feasible for next year. We're looking probably more like 2024, 2025 for that.
When we work on parking lots, typically is it our own crews that will pay?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
and then we end up contracting out the striping
Okay,
for that, so that would be, usually it's on state bid,
yeah,
so. And that segues actually into Blue Heron, so you guys know that we did the parking lot last year, it still needs to be striped, so that is something I'm putting in the budget for next year, just to complete that project for now. Uptown will definitely change some of our priorities, the kiosk is part of the 2023 budget request. We do have ADA compliant paths to the pavilions and to get to the actual walking paths. We did that last year. But obviously the other items on here, I don't know that that's our focus, and maybe they are. I think after we have our Uptown presentation, maybe that's something we can reevaluate as a committee, to see if that's the direction we want to go in. And then it is on here for fishing platform for 2023, as part of our capital plans. Again, is that something we want? Isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know if we invest any money yet until we've,
I'm gonna wait and see on that.
Yeah.
I agree.
It is a lot of money. I would be comfortable waiting,
Yeah.
honestly, before we just start doing anything. I think maintenance wise, we could make some small improvements on our golf disc course. Versus spending thousands on something that we're not
Mhm.
sure about. So I'd be happy to take that off.
When are you supposed to, you said the presentation for,
Most likely our
Uptown?
September meeting.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
have Doug and Shauna. Shauna's our planner. Doug's our town manager. They'll come and present Uptown because they're all part of that planning process. They have the visuals and they can really give you guys a good idea of what that is gonna look like eventually.
Dan trying to get in there.
Oh, yeah. Where did he go?
It's like I'm knocked out.
But Randy never found it?
Randy's grumpy.
He's
Yeah.
looking for his, he's
Yeah,
looking
I
for his
get it.
iPad.
It's asking me to sign in, but it won't let me. I'm done, frustrated.
Oh, no.
I used to have trouble signing it too.
So are we all in consensus about Blue Heron then?
Yeah.
We can
So
reevaluate.
let me ask
after-
about band stage shelter. Why would we do that at Blue Heron?
I guess when this plan was made, there was a desire to have some kind of,
I would love to
Type
see
of
that in
amphitheater.
outhouse, like if you had a pavilion that was taller and you could put in a temporary stage, then we didn't have no
we have
problems,
so
rain
many
or
concerts.
shine, right? And if we're going to continue to do a couple a year, I mean, we try to encourage other people to pick up the ball as well.
Mhm.
If there was one a month, it'd be nice, you know?
Well, is it possible that maybe Blue Heron Park might become that place based on
Yeah,
the,
I was thinking that
on the
too.
plan with,
So if you look at the model that we've used, the traffic coming through Outhouse is fantastic. So you get people that haven't heard about it, they come and stop, they see food trucks, you wouldn't get that at Blue Heron.
True.
You just a
That's
dead
true,
end,
yeah.
yeah.
well, but
Well,
then there's
right
gonna
now it
be,
is. It's a dead end right now.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it'll always be a dead end no matter what happens with Outhouse. You know, I mean, people are gonna go there, you know what I mean? I think Outhouse will always be busier. I mean, you've got Motion Junction, you've got the pirate playground,
more
so you're
facilities.
drawing people, you've got athletic fields to draw people in. I think that money would be better spent building that kind of pavilion at Outhouse somewhere, maybe in the phase 2 on the west side, or yeah, actually not near the bathrooms is nice, so if we can
Yeah.
figure something out there.
We have a lot of space.
Yeah, it's not, wouldn't be a big pavilion.
And you could even include, I mean, not just bands coming, but if there's like small theater groups,
Right,
who want to have
right, exactly, right.
performances, like
Until you
theater in the
build it, you don't know
park.
what'll show
Yeah.
up, right?
Well, if it's gonna be the recreation hub, which I think everyone knows it's going to be, I
Right.
mean, what better than to add more amenities
Right.
for that?
Right.
So I mean, that's something we gotta put a star by to keep that in mind. I mean, I'm not sure we're ready for that right now for 2023,
Right.
especially with some of the changes that could happen at Outhouse with the land swap, possible land and. But I mean, as that progresses, I mean, I think that's something that we have in our back pocket as a use for that land when all that does happen.
Or even if you put it on near where we are now,
Yeah.
I mean, even to build that now, I think that would get utilized right away
Yeah.
by any number of people. I'm always surprised, but we'll have meetings there, like there's some karate people. that have a
Yeah.
meeting
Oh,
there. It's like, you know, it's
On the
just
basketball.
a million things going on there, so that we don't even know about, because they don't register, they don't do anything, they just show up,
Yeah.
so. If you put another pavilion in like that, I think you would be utilized as well. And if we could use it for concerts and whatever plays, it'd be great.
Are we good to move on to schoolhouse?
Sure.
Okay. I am putting on the budget request for 2023 for crosswalk improvements, leading down to the beach,
Oh.
because right now it's just a couple
dangerous,
lines.
actually.
It is,
Yeah,
it
it really
is.
is.
It's not very apparent that that is a public crossing space.
Do you
So we'll
think
be
those
looking into
flashing
that.
light things are for
It-
people that are crossing? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea, because people
Just to
are,
get some attention, people
Right.
fly, people
yeah, it's
fly
supposed to be 35 there, but they're going much faster.
much
And it's
faster.
Pretty busy. actually.
Yeah. it
Is the town? The town would have to request that type of crossing from the county.
Correct, yeah, because it's
Okay.
not a town road.
So I mean, it'd really be in the hands of the county as to what they would
Yeah.
wow.
agree to install.
Well, I started talking to Jim Fletcher about it. Obviously, he's the expert with
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I feel like we have a good relationship to move forward with something
Yeah,
with the.
It's
county.
35 mph and it's pretty busy, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd be
No, I
crazy
And
agree.
not
everybody's
to
looking
do
at the
that.
lake. They're
Yeah,
not looking at where they're
exactly. It's a
supposed to.
terrible
Yeah.
spot, right?
The flagpole and lighting, I feel like that's done, Andy. Wasn't that done before we came? I feel like I saw a blank, there's like a empty flagpole hole and then another flagpole next to it. So I think
Well, that
means
has come
it's
up before,
done.
Dave. I remember that.
Yeah.
And even to the point where you said, you'll donate a flag
Right, right,
and a pole, maybe you said.
right.
Because there was some issue. I don't remember what
I
the
don't remember what
reason
it was
was.
either, yeah, but yeah.
It seems like that was checked off on the list that Doug.
Somewhere,
came
I
up with.
feel
remember
like
it
it
being-
was,
yeah.
Yeah.
but you know, there were some items on here that predate even, you know, myself and Andy that I couldn't
Right.
answer. So, but when I went there, I saw, you know, an old pole where a flag once
And a new
stood
flagpole.
and a new flagpole.
And I believe there is a light a light on it.
There's electricity there. if
Right,
I
on the
remember
corner.
right. Yeah, I'm not sure if the light's there. or
Yeah.
not.
But I can always, obviously. we
We'll
can
get Randy to
always-
walk down.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe down, but not back up.
Yeah,
But we have the bike racks, we have benches, the kiosk, I would really like some type of kiosk there at Schoolhouse, whether it's an interpretive sign with the history of Schoolhouse. Or if it is one of our more high-tech ones. If we did just an interpretive sign, it's only $800 through Panier, who did all of our signs for Miller Park, so we'll see if I can squeeze that in one way or the other.
Would that be something maybe touch base with the history team about some sort of design for that or some sort of
Oh,
information that they
definitely.
would?
Yeah, the history team, ECB, they've been more than happy to help with some of
Yeah.
our interpretive signs, so I would definitely leave that up to the history team to
Yeah.
gather information.
Yeah,
I just think it'd
absolutely.
be fascinating, if you didn't know the history behind Schoolhouse,
are
I
we
just think that
thinking
would be
about
great.
electronic signs at all instead of?
We are.
Yeah, because that, I know they're a fortune, but they make more sense. Then you can change
do.
whatever you want. You can change it from here. you know,
Right.
So,
So we are, that is the
Yeah.
plan. We have found some companies, that was something I had to work on a couple months ago, specifically for Blue Heron, but it will go into all of our
right,
parks.
roll it out as they go,
Yeah,
right?
that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Then you know they're updated. you
Right.
know?
Right. And you're not like stuck with the sign when things, things change or things get updated or improved. Okay, so we're gonna skip Outhouse West because there's a lot of phases with that. This whole thing has essentially changed and evolved into something more. So I don't think that this is relevant in
Right.
any way on this implementation plan. But as far
But
as
just
Outhouse Park.
one question on
Yeah.
House West,
Yeah.
is that our piece of that? We would be paying 1.5 million.
Correct. Which I think it's actually a lot more than that now. I should send that out because I know Doug sent something, I think, last month, Mark, with that
You-
phases. Or
You
it was
mean
in-
for based on the 1.5, based on what's in here?
Right, that's based on this. There's no building in there or anything like that.
Right, so I think a lot of this is gonna change as well, because would we still need additional restroom buildings, or do we rely on the restroom buildings that are that will be built as part of the new pavilion? So I mean, there's some things here, there's some walking trails and sidewalks that are part of,
So this was part of the plan from what?
Right, this was
2018.
this was
Yeah,
before-
This needs to get
This is old.
redone.
this was before there was even a vision for Motion Junction,
Correct.
Right,
so. I mean, like a storage shed in a building, I mean, that might
We're
not
gonna
be,
have the Four Seasons building.
right,
And there's gonna be storage in the pavilion that's being built in fall.
Yeah.
and many of these things also could change based on what happens with the, again, that possible land swap and the use of that field next to the Civic Center,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which I guess would be outhouse northeast,
Yeah.
so,
That's all right. Yeah, I don't even want to really address any of these because it's not a valid list right now.
I think the biggest thing right now for outhouse east then would be the paving, whatever becomes the
Absolutely.
grant or whatever we do.
Yeah, I definitely want to
With
get that.
that.
I want that to be a priority for next year, whether we
Yeah.
get the grant or not. I would like to see that done. Including the Auburn Trail portion. So like, to me, that is all one, because they connect.
And was anything ever done improvement wise for the fields? I don't,
Yeah, Jim and his team have done a lot of regrading and drainage around
Okay.
the fields.
okay,
They seem to be okay.
yeah,
I mean, super wet years, they're
Yeah.
wet, but,
well, that's what they're supposed to
right,
catch the runoff from Sucker
Right,
Brook, right?
right, right.
So. I just didn't know like quality of, of the playing surface, things like that, if any of the local teams had had any input or any concerns or
No,
complaints
no
or.
concerns. Last year, the only concern that I received had to do with like the wet conditions and the mowing. But I have not
Yeah.
heard a complaint about that yet this
Okay.
year, so that's a positive. And then we've been installing benches. All the benches that we currently have out there, all except one, have been sponsored, so that's very exciting. We'll look into adding more, obviously. Once the Auburn Trail and the paving is done, we'll start adding more into different locations. I see on here for phase 3 a softball field. I don't know if that's even something that is on
Same
our
with box
mind.
lacrosse. I don't think that's something that,
Well, that's done now.
Yeah.
They built one at the high
Right.
school.
They did.
So, yeah, yeah. At one time, the talk had been,
build it down.
Gotcha.
right,
Okay.
or to use actually that. Right across from the Civic Center, there had been talk
Okay.
about putting a box right there. That might have even been back when they didn't know who owned that land, whether it was the town or the Civic Center.
Gotcha.
Turns out it wasn't the Civic Center.
So I mean, looking at the outhouse plan, I mean, we're in process for a lot of these items, which I think is wonderful. And again, when you see that cabins, halls improvement and roof replacement, that's all on a schedule for completion based again
Right.
on the year that it was done and just, you know, maintaining it. So that is not on the plans for next year to improve any of the roofs or anything, but eventually we will go all metal roofs
Yeah.
over the course of the next decade or two. Oh, McJanet Park. So again, just to reiterate, we purchased that land adjacent. I don't know about the Trail to Blue Line Stream. I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
That was part of the, they initially were hoping to make that connection that we're still talking about
Okay,
into whatever path they could try to find down
down
through.
to Onondaga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so then
that
I-
was part of that
Okay.
whole idea, that whole plan.
And then I'm not sure that a kiosk is necessary over
Yeah,
there.
that seems like,
Maybe an
Static
interpretive-
sign.
yeah.
That might be the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change there.
You know, an interpretive.
Yeah.
Right.
sign.
Well, it almost looks like as part of the plan, every park got a kiosk for $10,000.
Yes.
So I think it
Yes.
was a,
Which I mean, if you are driving by and that's a rest stop for you, maybe you want to know what's going on in the town of Canandaigua. Or it's gonna get damaged. I mean, there's really no monitoring of that area.
So we don't, all we have is a sign now that says
McJanet Park, yeah.
I wonder if we just put up something, it's cheap, see if it gets damaged and
Yeah.
then, because that, I would guess there's some vandalism that goes on up there, right? I mean. looks
people
like a good-
drive out of the parking lot and run
Looks
up
like a good spot to go
sometimes.
drinking and throw your cans out the windows and.
Well, we have garbage cans now, so
Yeah,
it's
not
reduced a
too
lot.
bad.
But we have had people bring bags of their household garbage,
And leave them.
leave them there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Just amazing.
no.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think we can hold on a sign. I mean, maybe with McJanet, if some, as we purchase.
As
with-
it
with
progresses with
The
the
purchase of that
trail.
land, then maybe we add a more of a, some
A
sort of
trail
interpretive
sign
sign
or
with,
something?
Yeah.
right, with just some more information,
Yeah.
but. Based on purchasing that land or whatever we figure with that land.
So the next is Miller Park. So we've done a great job with signage, the trails, parking, tree plantings. Now we are aware in partnership with the tree team that there are trees that need to get replaced and or great locations for our new tree sponsorship program. So I again feel that that is just an ongoing
Yeah,
item as far as keeping things planted and just new items. So we have a gazebo. We don't have a platform for bird watching. We do have the ag history sign. And again, on their standard, there's another kiosk that they would like.
There is a bench though, isn't there, in that bird, what's considered kind of the bird watching area down there?
Yeah, there's a bench there.
And there's
With the
lots of
bench?
benches.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we want to do a, you know, an official platform for bird watching, I know that was talked about through ECB, having like a wall with a little peak, so you're not disturbing the.
I wish we could figure out how many people go there. I mean, I'm surprised how the upper part, the other part of Miller is used quite a bit, but I don't, it's hard to tell who's down there.
I know a lot of bird watching groups go, a lot of photographers.
Did they go down there to that part or
They walk the whole thing.
maybe so.
I mean, I also think that that could potentially be like an Eagle Scout project,
mhm.
you know, where it wouldn't cost the town anything.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So what I can do is consult the ECD. I don't know that we can get it on our plans for next year, but if it's gonna be an Eagle Scout project, again, that wouldn't cost the town anything, and we can get that on the list. Okay, so under trails, it had slated $5,000 a year for trail amenities, maintenance, equipment, materials for town-owned trails. I see a huge need for that. our trails have gone unmaintained for quite a few years, where it's gonna take us a little bit to get to a point where it's just maintenance.
Mhm.
So I did propose for $5,000 on this budget request for 2023. And we're gonna focus on Ononda, the upper portion. Again, like I said in the beginning of this meeting, just to replace the overlook area. There's a lot of boards that need replacing trail.
Who's responsible for switchback?
We are.
We probably need to do something there, because, you know, the trees that they all cut down that they complained about are all now, weed trees are all growing again. So they planted very nice trees,
Yeah.
but that's really in kind of a disarray.
Yeah.
So we should really get after that to make it a little bit nicer.
Yeah. And I mean, next year, we've been talking to Andy. I'm also putting in a request for a third permanent employee to captain trails. So not just like Ononda trails, like all trails.
Mhm.
Because these guys have so much going on. We need that third person, whether it's part-time permanent or full-time summer, part-time winter.
Mhm.
I see a huge need for that because we have Switchback Trail, we have the Ononda Trail. We have trails over in Brookside that extend out to Town Hall. Peanut Line Trail.
Yeah, and you know what, the
Our trail system is growing too.
It
so I mean,
is,
yeah,
the
so
the
it's-
Auburn
peanut line
Trail.
just keeps getting
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
narrower and
Yeah. I haven't been on it, but there's poison
Oh,
ivy on that.
There
too.
is.
And
Dennis Brewer went.
I saw his
started
truck
some of
parked there.
that, yeah.
You know what, and again, I live right around the corner. There are cars parked there. There are
It's
people
used.
walking.
I'm
Up
trying
and
But
to-
down the
even,
peanut line
even
a
the
lot.
stairs and, I mean, there's boards that need to be replaced
Yeah.
there too, and right
That was
now
an
it's
old
not
Eagles,
funded.
right,
Yeah.
That Eagle Scout.
So
Is $5,000 enough if we include?
I think it's
some
a
work?
great start. I know we could spread that money.
Seems like we could spend twice that just on Ononda.
Well, we wouldn't, I mean, the goal isn't to finish and leave the trails 100%. This is a
Right.
multi-year
Yeah.
progress,
Yeah.
progress project. But I
But we
do
need to
feel
make them
5,000 would be
safe. I
fine.
think that's the
Correct.
big issue. So like switchback, I just rode my bike on recently and it's like the gravel's all washed out.
Yeah.
and, You know, everything's overgrown. So it's almost a little dangerous, you know. I haven't been up in Ononda in a while, but it was also kind of,
Yeah, we recently walked Ononda to put up the boundary signs, and I mean, there's definitely areas that we need to address. First and foremost, any dangerous trees, that's our priority, is getting those down. Jeff and Amanda recently just took down some ash trees in the uplands. So that's our priority, at least at the moment. And then my goal is each year, again, we just continue to work on some maintenance items. And hopefully we can just only do maintenance, not major projects,
Right.
because everything's so bad. But I think Switchback Trail is small enough in the grand scheme of things where we could definitely prioritize that.
mhm.
But I mean, that's gonna chew up, I mean, that might need some loads of fill and some regrading and
Definitely gonna need some
Yeah.
machine time and some gravel for sure.
do we try to sneak a little more money into trails just for?
I can put any request.
Yeah. I would just
Doug
hate to
might
be,
look at it and be like,
Right.
no.
Right.
You get no money for that.
but I mean, if you hope to have somebody
I
more
do.
dedicated to trails, it would be nice if that person had more of a
Some
budget to
funds.
work with.
So what are you guys suggesting? Maybe 15?
I was gonna say at least
Equipment
double
rental
it,
is a lot of money.
right,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'll put in 15
Yeah.
and we'll see.
yeah.
I do think I have a good case to
Yeah.
bring with that, so.
Well, again, and I think we forget about switchback,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
so,
It's not very big, but it's
Yeah.
gonna require some work to
Yeah.
get it back to where it started, so.
I mean, that and peanut line, I mean,
Yeah.
right,
those two
Right.
alone. And we're not even really talking about even like getting through much of Ononda.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you can spend that money, there's no doubt about it.
I can find a way.
Yeah.
Next is Auburn Trail. So again, that timeline was 2019 to 2022. This is gonna be more of like a 5 to 10 year completion for Auburn Trail throughout the town of Canandaigua, just with the easements that are needed. There's a ton of grant funding available, but obviously that takes time too. But it'll definitely be worth it in the end if we can get those grants for completion, saves a ton. And then next, what I really wanted to ask. the committee-
just
Oh,
quick on
yeah.
Auburn,
Yeah.
do you have any sort of update? I know, and Doug said things had moved along. There'd been an issue with the airport and the FAA and things, but it seemed like that had been resolved.
Yes, so now
Okay.
Sarah has to talk to the person that's, she's not the grant writer, she's helping facilitate the design, I forgot which company, it's not MRB. But they have to figure out where they can put it.
Okay,
Um,
On airport property.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a difference, they just have to shift it over, so we're just waiting on that.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, they're already, I see people using that berm, that even the
Yeah.
local work that the town did across the top of that
Yeah.
berm. I mean,
It's-
there are people that
It's gonna
walk
be heavy traffic once
once the
that
wide's open.
section is complete. I'm telling you, it's gonna explode. I'm excited. And then next, what I really want to know from the committee, so we're supposed to have a 5-year update for our master plan this year. With COVID, obviously halting some of our projects for 2 years. Do we want to have this reevaluated in 2 years from now? Do we want to do an internal evaluation? Do we want to hire it out?
I'm for holding off. I think we've got a lot of things going on that
need to
could
see where it
change a
settles.
master plan with Outhouse West things happening and Blue Heron. It just seems like we ought to let some of those natural things that are gonna happen at those places happen. And then take a big picture look
See what the
once.
impact will be, yeah.
It would be looking at it next year this time would be more is what you're thinking.
Or even another year after that. It still seems like there's
Depends on
enough,
the progress made on
Right.
Outhouse.
I mean, there's still enough things on this list that
Oh,
we
yeah.
can focus on and
Right.
say, you know, let's keep moving forward with that, or. I don't know, it just seems like we've got a lot of things that we've kind of started, and it would be nice to finish some of those things up before we decided to start more things and got lost in other things.
So like 2024. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah,
It's 2 extra years. You know, to make up for the 2 years we lost.
Might be another pandemic, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh,
Monkeypox.
don't say the
Yeah.
P word.
Oh,
What's next?
So these are my updates that I just worked through, really wanted to share with you guys, and just what my focuses are over the next couple years, or at least next year. Is there anything that the committee would like to request for 2023?
I will go back, if there's the ability to have any local work done on that section of Auburn Trail that we can do work on.
Yeah,
Again, I know it's a long ways away with everything that's gotta happen to get from Brickyard Road to Farmington. But if anything we can do to even get to Brickyard Road, I think people would be comfortable on Brickyard Road to walk themselves, to ride themselves. And then with the Y going in, I just see people that go there to exercise are gonna wanna go for a run or go for a walk, and
Yeah,
boom.
that makes sense.
So anything that we could do locally with
Okay.
anything with trails.
what about movie night and music in the park? Do we still want to stick with two music in the park events and 1 movie night, or do we want to?
I think that's a lot for
Increase
this
them?
committee, you know what I mean? I think that's plenty, you know what I mean? It'd be nice if somebody else would step up and do something, but. I think that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work. Well, you guys know, right? It's a lot of work.
I think that's fine. I think you have 2 great music in the park
Do a
events.
July and August event every year and then,
Yeah.
And we
go
just
from
know it's
there.
gonna rain.
right. That's why I want that pavilion.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Well, you know what, if again, we keep that pavilion idea in mind, and maybe it becomes more of an informal. You know, there's maybe a group that wants to just go and use it and perform, and
Well, I don't think it would cost that much. I mean, if you put in a pole.
Oh,
barn
right.
With no
Right.
sides on it, you're just putting a
Right.
roof. It just has to be taller than the one, so that if you put a
Right.
stage in there, so that, you know,
Right.
people, the band people could see
Right.
out. So, I mean, if it were 20,000, I'd be surprised. And, you know, what's a 10 by
Right.
20? It's
Right.
just a small shelter, you know? Be nice to do, but power,
Yeah.
you know, put power in it. It would make life easier. It would also give like a central area that people would get accustomed to coming to and doing whatever. And
Yeah, that'd be nice.
you're envisioning that down where the like pavilions already are? The
yeah, I
pavilion,
think so, don't you think? It
Yeah,
seems like you
I
want to
know,
have
I'm trying to picture
it logistically close to pirate thing to the bathroom, to the other
Mhm.
pavilion, somewhere down there somewhere.
But picture this.
Mark. Hey, Mark, remember, did I send you a picture of that shell that they had in that park down in Jamestown? It's like a 3-sided open wooden structure that was like a bandstand basically, but it was kind of like a shell.
Was it even portable or not?
No, this was a permanent fixture. But it wasn't huge.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it needs to be, you know what I mean? If you're just gonna stick the band in it or a play
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, I
So-
definitely think that needs to be on our radar is to decide, to work something like that. So, but
So maybe we continue talking
look
about
at
it.
that into 2023 as far as, and again, I mean, maybe there would be other options depending on how that outhouse west shapes out. I mean, maybe it becomes across the road and built into that hill a little bit somehow instead of instead of over near the playground. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think that's something we should have on our radar is some sort of pavilion like that. But again, I think for next year, budget wise, do we keep the same amount budgeted for the movie night and the concerts? Do we add a little bit to it? Do we?
I mean, we're definitely not gonna run out
Yeah,
of the money even this year with like the donations and sponsorships. So if we're gonna, which we do need to discuss that a little bit today too. If that's something we wanna, continue with, that would definitely cut down what we need to budget for.
Well, isn't that the goal of getting sponsors to have be revenue zero? I mean, that's the goal. I mean, if we can do that, I'd rather do it that way. I mean, from a taxpayer, seems good. But I wasn't at the meeting where you guys took the abuse, so.
I wasn't either. I just watched it on TV, on YouTube. So, but. I guess we didn't mention the fact that you're looking right now for a recreation director, right? There's a canvas.
Yes.
So I guess I would think that maybe that's part of whoever's hired as a recreation person to start maybe more of a formal. We very informally reached out for sponsorships. I mean, I stopped
Yeah.
at the office, which was like twisting my arm to do that,
Right.
to
Right.
ask Eric,
Well,
do you want to donate? And,
Right.
I was getting my oil changed with Jeff Hanford. But
Right.
I guess I would envision that you look at, and I hate to always look at other towns, but Victor has 15 sponsors listed for their concert series. But that's because they have 3 full-time people. And I talked to one of them several years ago. They said, well, that's my job is I approach all these people about sponsorship. So,
I really think next year is gonna be very different than this year,
Yeah.
having this recreation director, because
yeah,
they won't just, recreation is special events in our parks. I mean,
Right.
those two things go
Right.
hand in hand.
right.
So we'll have someone dedicated to doing this now. As we all know, it takes about a good year,
Right.
full cycle enroll to really get a grasp on things. So it might be a little aggressive to think that we're gonna be able to manage all that the first year. But I would say by, 2024, they should be actively having sponsors for a bunch of different events in our park.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say, no, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need to formalize, maybe the town needs a policy on what sponsorship means compared to donation.
Mhm.
So, but I think we still maybe do what we can.
I'll
With
budget
a
what we
little bit
did
of-
last year.
Okay.
And then, if we get more donations,
Right.
then maybe we could do things even bigger with the money that we
Right.
have, because we
Right.
have to use it, because that
Yeah.
line in the budget is specific for music and movie night.
Yeah.
We can't really move it
Roll it
into somewhere
over,
else.
Right.
right, yeah.
Right.
So that just means we have a more epic event to throw.
Yeah.
Or I can spend the money somewhere else. Okay. There were only 2 other items I really wanted to chat about. Just special events in our parks. I know we talked about it last time. I'm having a lot of organizations wanting to hold things in our parks. I do think that we need to discuss what the cost looks like. So we do have this foundation who wants to have a festival in October at Outhouse. It's not gonna be super large. They don't need the hall. But my thought is, and you guys can obviously make recommendations as well, just charging them for the pavilion, like as the fee, since it's an outdoor space. Or do we need to come up with a separate fee if someone wants to hold something like that? But I think we need to start getting something official, so that way I can
I think you have to begin at the beginning though, you know what I mean? So why would you charge a group that wanted to do something more than you charge them for somebody if they're. for
I'm
renting
not
the
saying
building?
even charging more, just like, how do we charge? Like, if there
If-
was a huge event, how do we?
If there was a huge event that just came in and didn't want to use any of the buildings, just wanted to use the outdoor park space. Currently, anybody can go use the park.
Mhm.
The only thing that's reservable or rentable, well, I guess the fields really aren't even,
Well, I guess we need to make a policy then that
Right.
says you
Yeah.
can't do that. You know what I mean? In order
Right.
to do that, you need to go to the town and get
Yes.
permission. So like you just said, you can't pull up the ice cream truck.
Right.
You need to get permission to do that,
Right.
but you could come and have this event for 5,000 people.
right.
That doesn't seem right.
It doesn't, but I
Well,
mean,
you
right
could- you could Have an
now,
event for 5,000 people, but it couldn't include food trucks. It couldn't include any of these other things because it would have to be a town sponsored.
But if you were a private event that you had your own food truck, what stops you from doing that?
it's the public events that are the issue.
Right.
So if a private
It's not a
event
private
has
event, it's a
something,
private event,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
so we need a policy, I
Yeah.
think, I
Correct,
think
we
we need
do.
a policy, right?
we
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Yeah,
So I can draft something for next meeting and, or if you
Yeah.
guys wanna draft something yourselves,
just a
but.
park event policy. you
And that's
know?
it, just something to
Yeah.
put in the code, because right
Right.
now, really, it's,
Yeah,
I don't really know what to tell people.
yeah,
I want them to,
I don't
I'm
know
like,
what to tell them
yes,
either.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
want you to
Right.
come,
yeah, we don't, we want to encourage them to come,
Yes.
but we need some rails to put.
yes.
to-
So
for
that
them
way
to
we're
operate under.
aware of what is going on in our parks, and
Right.
I've had situations that I've come across where I don't know, there's a public event happening and I didn't know about it, and I'm the parks coordinator, I should know about every event
There's a
happening. in
lot
our
of stuff that
park.
goes on at like outhouse
I
that
know.
nobody knows.
No
about,
one
you
knows
know,
about.
It's like, you know, when we were doing that concert or the concert there was a meeting going on in that pavilion. I said, "Do you guys have this rented?
No,
Or is
they do
this
not.
No, they do not, right, so
No,
it's
they
Just
like,
a family reunion.
yeah, just so you know.
Were they okay with,
Yeah, we're gonna be doing something
did you
here.
tell me
so-
it had the band come for their family reunion?
Yeah. Yeah,
So I do think we need something, that way if an entity who wants to throw some public event, they have to somehow inform the town to get permission, whether it's, there's a fee associated with that or not.
So would you say, how many people were in the pavilion for the family reunion? 20?
I don't know if it was a family reunion, I was just.
Oh, no, oh.
there was some kind of birthday party thing.
Oh, there
yeah,
you
yeah.
go, so,
I mean, so does a group of 20 warrant letting you know or not?
Well, that's a private
well,
event.
what do they do at
I mean, that's
Kershaw?
That's their private event. They have an entire special events application that goes through, like, there's an application fee that gets submitted. and
If it's a bigger event, okay.
Yeah. So like private events, yeah, you run the pavilion. I don't care really
Right,
what you're
okay.
doing as long as you're following our town code, but it's when you have public events being
Yeah.
held in the parks that we're unaware of. That's the
Yeah, I
problem.
think we need to have a policy for that. I mean,
Yeah.
I never really realized that, but we've probably could have really gotten burned on this if people decided.
I mean, we haven't, we have insurance and
Yeah.
all that stuff too, but I mean,
If you like
How silly.
drafted,
how silly does the town board feel? How silly do I feel when someone's like, hey, so there's this event scheduled at Outhouse. Do you know about it? And I'm like, let me Google it. I have no idea.
if you drafted something we could look at. and then
Yeah.
A starting point.
It's a
Yeah,
starting
yeah,
point.
yeah.
I am by no means,
Yeah,
trying to
Right.
dictate anything. I would just like us to maybe start that
Yeah.
process. So that way we can encourage it and really
right,
have some boundaries if we need them.
you save a Woodstock.
But for example, like CCAT, they had 3 events at Pierce and I didn't charge them anything for the first 3 because we ended up making them like a town sponsored event because of Mike Night, to bypass some of our
Right.
codes. They want to do 2 more. I feel like we should charge them the rate of the pavilion that they're renting,
Mhm.
because we should treat everyone
The same,
equally.
right.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just wanted to know everyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to be neighborly and encourage
Yeah.
that, but it's a
would-
nominal fee.
Well, how much is it?
For a town resident, it's $15.
That's not gonna hurt anybody,
No.
so that's, yeah. And
While still welcoming the event.
right, it's
you
our,
know,
and it's just better to have that policy in place that everyone who does that,
It's treated
that's what it
the same,
is,
yeah.
right?
Okay. And then the last thing, just talking about like town code adjustments, which this committee is able to do. I do think we need to add something in town code regarding motion junction, not allowing only allowing service animals in that playground area. Because of that surfacing, it's very sensitive to claws and pointy heels and different things. And right now our town code says that dogs are allowed in all town parks as long as they're leashed.
Yeah, we really need to address that. I mean,
I think there may be more than just that with the whole inclusion, the
well, that
whole,
surface is sensitive.
Very
and
Very much
expensive
so.
And
Yeah.
expensive, right?
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
And we
So-
could even write something where it's just the playground area, because when we have ball fields, you want,
Sure,
families
yeah.
to bring their dogs, just maybe some rules about the surfacing officially in town code
Absolutely.
approved by the town board, so then we can actually get official signs up.
and I think maybe even reach out to Mike Bentley and that group and say, are there other things that have come up that we should have in our code about that use of that area? And that may change over the next few years as the area develops more.
And we can always amend
Yeah.
the code or, add, but I do think immediately we should include something about service animals only
Right.
on the playground.
And Lindsay, I'm just trying to look quick here.
Yeah.
You had mentioned tents.
Yes, so that's been another topic.
Is that something that needs to be added to code somehow, or just let it continue the way it is?
I mean, right now, there's nothing addressing
Right.
tents in the code.
Like if somebody wants to have an event. Or if a family shows up. Could they put up a 20 by 20 tent if they wanted?
Or if we had an event like Perks of the Park and one of the vendors put up a tent, do we need to address that as well? Because they were gonna do that, A's was, but just nice day they didn't.
I mean, technically now they could, right? There's nothing.
There's nothing that
against
says they
tents right
can't.
now.
Right,
And what we're presently doing is, since there is nothing in the code, which is fine, when people at Onondaga have tents, as long as it's not a safety hazard, as long as the conditions are fine, my rangers don't address it. And it's been fine, they have shade.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's windy, it is
yeah,
the discretion of my rangers to say, hey, you can't have this up due to blah, 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 blah.
as
You
one
mean like
tent.
a
goes-
10 by 10 type?
Pop up.
Like
Yeah,
pop-up
those pop-up
tents, yeah.
tents, yeah, they go flying all the
Yeah.
time.
Is.
They're awful.
Yeah, they're nice as long as they're not windy.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's not windy, but my rangers are aware that they are empowered to address any safety
Right, right.
hazards. But if it's a larger party tent, I feel that it has to be inspected by our code enforcement officers for safety.
Well, fire
Yeah.
too.
We'll need to make sure we're aware of any underground utilities in that case also. Needs to be marked out.
Good point. Okay, no change.
Or tents in a certain area.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I think whatever you come up with about
Okay.
Outhouse West, sure, and we can quickly make a recommendation to the ordinance committee and.
What if we could look at some of the other parks that are kind
So-
of that same surface and see what their rules are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, just to try to figure out, not reinvent the wheel. But dogs seems to be a good start.
Mhm. Can't
And maybe
keep
food, I
dogs
don't know,
off of it.
you know,
Well, they say gum and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and that's a bad
Yeah.
idea, but
I
I
think,
mean, how do you police that?
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
Yeah,
right, but you could have it there and then,
or at least have signage that says that.
Yeah.
right,
you
and
know?
then some people will
Yeah.
abide by it,
Here, right,
right, it might
no
not
tobacco
solve
spitting, no
Right.
gum, no-
sunflower seeds,
No
Sunflower
high
seeds.
heels,
right,
Right,
no cleats. I mean,
Right.
cleats also will
Right.
Oh,
destroy
yeah.
that surfacing.
yeah,
That's a good point. Take them over and play in a
Uh-huh.
soccer game and
Exactly.
run over. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to transition to Zoom. I have to.
It's coming.
Okay.
No, I promise
you're
I wouldn't
done.
talk so much in here.
I hope we're done before you get home.
Okay, okay,
So-
sorry, we have more lacrosse.
that's good.
All right.
But that's all I have, guys. Those are just the topics that I've been
Good.
coming across that I really wanted to bring to the committee's attention.
And then the other things that I had all Outhouse Park related, concert night, just a debrief because I wasn't here.
Yeah,
What do we got to focus on for the next? What do we
No
got to put
rain.
Dave in charge of for the next
Do a rain
concert?
dance.
So I'm not here at that one either.
It was good, but
I was overwhelmed by the number of people that didn't know that was going on, that came by just because they're like, what's, because I was out by one of the roads and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? We need that big sign like the week before. It says
I told
concert.
Mark why we
Yeah.
couldn't have it.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
Jim was doing a lot of road work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That he needed the sign.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping.
we gotta
most of the
figure
roads
something
are
out to do that, because even the, like, I talked to people in the neighborhood, I don't know what that is, it's not Sunflower, but it's a new, over. They're like,
Or overlook.
they're like, we didn't know this was going on, and we're right here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, do you guys have like a Facebook group, or like, no, they don't have any kind of
Neighborhood.
social, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, how do we do that? Do we put, maybe go around with some paper
flyers.
stuff and just stuff them in mailboxes?
Well-
Walk through the neighborhood, because, I mean, there's hundreds of people that can come from there and like it, so.
What's it cost these days to print, to have 10 signs made that could be,
Concert tonight,
or not tonight, maybe we'd want it to be with,
concert Wednesday,
yeah,
I mean, we could always just do concerts on Wednesday, you know,
concert.
You mean the
food
little
truck,
yard
or
signs,
something, or
yeah.
maybe even
concert and food truck.
maybe if we can't depend on that, the highway sign, do you make something that you could post put it on the new kiosk?
Yeah, when we get that, that's different.
Well, but here's the
That's
other
our
thing.
goal.
Here's the other thing is the billboards coming into town now are gonna be able to display town events. They're going digital, the Lamar, is it Lamar?
I know, I saw that one down by, whatever it is, Odd Lots.
And same with the one, I think is it functional, the one coming in 332?
I don't know if it's up and running just
Okay.
yet.
Is it turned on?
Oh, it is? I didn't
So
see
we
it.
have, as part of that agreement, we have some,
Oh, that would be nice.
Well, let's get it on that for sure,
That would be
you
real
know,
nice.
concert at our house,
Yeah,
you know, in the date,
concert and food trucks and,
yeah.
but I mean, do we look at printing up some, or having a
I think
sign
we-
that we could? I mean, the old days of 2 fence posts with a,
I mean, you could get you mean a banner to do that?
so,
and
yeah,
put it up
banner, yeah,
somewhere?
some type of banner to park
Yeah.
there and.
well, they can do that right at their prison place.
Yeah, so like a sheet of plywood size, 4x8 concert and food, I mean, that's probably $200, you know. And then we have it forever.
And we do have money in our budget for
Yeah.
music and movie night that we could take funds
good
to
idea.
do
Oh,
this.
should we say not concert, but event? I don't know, we
Right.
can't be too general,
Right.
yeah. Cause it'd be nice to have something that would work for both movie and. But I don't think you can, I think you would need to. Like movie night. We see.
Or is
movie
it, or
night-
is it a sign that mentions there's an event and gives them a web page or a website? Check here for
Events
details.
this
or-
week, check, Town of Canada, well, that's what I was telling people, is go on to Town of Canada
Yeah.
website, take a look. I mean, do we do that?
Put a big QR code.
Good.
Well, that's a good idea. Event,
But if they're driving by, do you think they'll be able to get the QR code? Or are you just,
Some of the bad drivers. can do it.
We're encouraging them now to use their phone and drive. so
You're right. the
I
QR
love
code
that.
might
I
not
love
be
that.
the best idea.
Love that idea.
How slow do you have to go to get a QR
But you
code?
could say visit the Town of Canada website and put a QR code, people
Um,
could stop and
yeah,
do
for
it.
those. that are
Upcoming
walking.
park event or
Upcoming park event. Check the,
something like that?
check.
Yeah.
check the website or you know, if you have the QR code, people know what that is anyway,
Mhm.
so.
great.
I mean, Dan, do you know how big they can be, QR codes?
Well, they've got to be able to fit inside your kind of phone. So if it's too big, you don't, and you're close, you won't be able to get it all. So, but there's no real limit.
If you were 30 feet away, you know what I mean?
That might be tough. It's meant to be like within 3 to
Yeah,
10 feet. kind of
arm's
thing.
length, yeah.
they do.
Yeah,
But we could still try it, put a QR code on it and just.
Yeah.
Link it to whatever.
you can always zoom out.
I mean, it was overwhelming how many people didn't know and saw just that day, so.
Which to me is crazy because in this day and age
We're
with,
involved with it though, but you know, some people said, I saw your post on
Right, and
Whatever
that's
that
what's
is,
surprising,
Kennewick
because
Chronicles.
usually I'm on the other side saying, well, I didn't hear about it because I didn't see it on Facebook, because I'm
Right.
not a Facebook person.
Right.
And everyone else is there,
Right,
because everybody sees it. I'm just surprised that it didn't show up more. Seems like last year when we did it, it showed up a ton on social media.
yeah.
But-
Yeah, we can hit it more harder. I think if more people. hit it
So,
like
so,
this-
so that really
Yeah.
is our big, any other things?
I thought, from a positive perspective, we were prepared for a larger crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know, if we were to have that overflow parking, I felt like we were much more prepared than last time.
how much did the rain hurt the crowd?
I think it had a huge.
Because it rained right up
Okay.
to
Huge
it, right?
effect.
So we could have had a
Yeah.
crowd and we wouldn't be worried about advertising
right,
more
right.
if it hadn't rained.
Right.
Okay.
But we need to have the rain or shine. We're going rain or shine.
Yeah.
Once we get people
Yeah.
there, once it's 5 o'clock and food trucks are pulling up, our event's going, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And the food trucks are good advertising unto themselves. People stop, like, there were paving guys that stopped and, you know, got something to eat. They didn't
Yeah.
listen, but they
Yeah.
stopped, you know? Yeah, I just think any amount of advertising that we can do that's free, I'm not saying spend a lot of money on it, but.
Yeah.
Like if we all get on and hit whatever social media we're on,
Mhm.
I think that's the way to go. And then I think some kind of signage so that I mean, there's a huge amount of traffic.
Oh,
that goes
absolutely,
by there. It's just
absolutely.
incredible. So,
I think that's a great spot for,
yeah.
For
yeah,
something.
Yeah,
can we tell Jim that he can't do any highway work that week?
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Give everybody the
He
week
won't
off.
kill me at
you
all.
can't have signage. You can't have a big sign.
Gotta finish my road first.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You working on yours?
Yeah, that's a mess.
I saw they tore out like a culvert on
Yeah.
Dual. Now it's one of my bike groups. Now I gotta find another bike
They
group.
took out the culvert on Kramer too, but that needed it. They quit doing it.
Yeah.
so anything else, any other debrief on?
I think it went pretty well. I actually do. I mean, these guys worked their tails off, like
How
hauling
did-
crap around.
How did you
and-
feel about the tables and chairs underneath the overhang?
Well, we did that because of rain. I think it's
But
nice
do you
to put them
think we
out.
should
I think it's nice to put them out if it's not raining. Yeah, I do.
maybe keep some under and
Yeah.
then have more
And
out?
maybe spread the tables from the pavilion out. I mean, they weigh 1,000 pounds, but just to cart them around a little bit, just to kind of make more of a family-friendly eating
Mhm.
atmosphere. But I thought it was great.
I feel like where we put the seating, that's where everyone nicely
Congregated.
congregated.
Right, yeah. That's true.
So everything else pretty good, I mean, nothing else. And then anything for the next concert night and the movie night, any other things that now, so we're at a point where did Macarolan say, I'm done with Canandaigua and I'm not coming to the other events?
No,
Oh, okay,
he said, weather-wise, I don't think you're gonna have enough business for 3 food
Yeah.
trucks. And he goes, I'll opt out.
okay,
And, we tried to talk him into staying, but he was right. I mean, the 2 food trucks plus Sarah, they were all happy. Even though the pizza lady was like, oh, I would like to be busier, she was busy,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So
because we only have Macarolan and
Finger Lakes,
Finger
I would
Lakes
leave it, well, and-
for
and-
the next
and
2 events, and Scoops,
Yeah, I would leave it at that,
okay,
Yeah.
even if we get 400 people.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I mean, Finger Lakes is slow.
yeah,
They're a little slower than, the pizza she was spinning it, so, and macaron was keep it
yeah.
hopping, but people like Finger Lakes.
Word was the pizza wasn't great pizza,
I had pizza for dinner, it was good,
okay,
I liked it, I
okay,
mean, it was like, wood, that,
yeah,
they had that big, it wasn't wood fired, but it was that open hearth kind of pizza, I thought it was good.
okay. But again, they don't want to come back, so we don't need to worry.
Did she say that?
So they were only in for one
For
event, they
one,
said they
yeah.
would only come one time.
Yeah,
So,
Where were
Yeah.
they from? Around here?
Rochester.
Webster.
somewhere, Yeah.
Oh.
I'll bet if we asked her, she'd come back. But I don't think we
well,
want to
I could
this
email
time.
it,
I don't want to this time, because I think we already got, if confirmed macaron and
okay,
Finger Lakes is in, they're always. in,
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, they love it. And Sarah said, she's in,
Right.
so I think we stick at 2,
okay,
just because, I think it was an anomaly. I mean, if we get 400 people,
Yeah,
we're gonna get, but
Yeah.
you gotta keep those events. I'd rather have them sell out of food and have long lines than have, them not making money, driving down
Yeah.
there doing all that stuff.
okay. And I did confirm with the bounce house and the movie screen guy, so he's all good, ready to go. Did I send you to the?
Yeah.
His, okay, it was kind of in a goofy format, so I didn't know if it would send okay. But.
Danny, do you have anything for movie night or concert night?
No, I didn't, did anyone talk to the Janekos afterwards? She didn't seem real happy. What, did you
I
talk to
didn't-
her, Mark?
I did not, no.
She didn't, she took off before I could get to her.
Yeah,
It seemed like she was selling a lot of ice cream, the soccer kids all.
Okay. All right, no, I think that like a stage, like you said, would be much better set up for the band. Obviously, they were gonna do the trailer, but with the weather, we couldn't. But a permanent stage would be great with power and maybe some lights. The music was great. Those guys did a good job as usual. And yeah, like I said, advertising is gonna be key. So I don't know how we got so much more last year. Whatever we did last year, we should do that again.
Right, that's what I'm thinking
I think it
too.
was just the weather though.
I don't think we did anything different.
Yeah, I think it was just the range.
It rained before,
Yeah.
where
It could be.
at the first year it rained during. so
After
that
it started.
People got there,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Right.
I don't mind rain down. So did anyone, Yaki sent me he texted me the money. Did someone send that on? Did you get that? And
No,
yeah, he just said the fee was $450. I sent that to you, Mark.
did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Just forward that to me.
Yeah.
The only other thing I thought. Do we need to manage parking better?
I think if we did, I
People-wise.
think if we did what we did this last time, we will be more than fine.
It worked out. We had people at every lot, there was
Mhm.
somebody.
Okay.
So we were either pushing them out or saying, we're full or,
Yeah.
moving them down. So yeah, it worked out.
It felt like we were more in control.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
I had to leave and come back a lot too. So it actually even gave me confidence when I would pull in like, okay, you can park here. Like it was really good direction and it wasn't a chaos at all.
McKenna, I remember last year, we had didn't Interact come and do some help when we did the movie night? It was a couple years ago now. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I don't know. I wasn't in the high school then, so I wasn't.
I know, you were so young then. Do you think that's something, I know summertime's hard to get people together. Do you think there'd be any opportunity maybe for Interact or somebody to volunteer like an hour's shift?
Yeah,
or do
there
something?
definitely is. I can give you the email of the two people that run it.
Okay,
They can send out they do like Graves Link and Schoology.
yeah,
They'll eventually get a bunch of stuff there's a bunch of kids who will do it.
okay. Yeah, if you could forward me that, then you know what, maybe we look at having, 10
Good
kids
idea.
come and help with parking and
That's a good idea.
I know movie night, we had a lot of people that came and worked that the first time we did movie night. So, and the other
We sold
thought,
water and popcorn. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. The other thought too was see if the football team, because they'll be in season, if they would
4, 8,
volunteer to
1.
come in for the movie night. So,
1
but
to
yeah, if you
3,
send me the Interact stuff, we'll
9/7.
see if we can get maybe some volunteers to help with that.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So that's all. I think we're in pretty good shape even into the movie night. And if you guys are all think we're good with just the 2 food trucks and Sarah. Do you want to touch base, Dave, with Sarah and
I will.
hey, just looking for feedback, how'd it go at the concert?
Yeah, I will.
Will
Okay.
scoops always be cash only?
I think that she likes cash.
It's okay. I just want to make sure we advertise that because I know what I was hearing from some parents, it's like, I didn't bring any cash with me and
I think
you know,
she's
all that
always
stuff.
cash.
that's fine. I
Yeah.
think we just,
Yeah.
when we're doing our advertising and stuff, just, bring
Ice cream is
bring
cash,
cash
right,
for
yeah.
ice cream.
Yeah.
And the only other thing on the agenda, senior programming, I saw Karen last night. She said there was an issue with the picnic. She said that So I don't know if it's something we need to,
I mean,
address
nothing we can change about it right now.
okay,
I just know, I'm focusing on moving forward with our recreation director that we will have at the town, who will be in charge of senior recreation, increasing the programming, and we're working on more partnerships too, that won't cost the town any money to continue to do. I mean, we have a great partnership with Quail Summit. They had an event today. The picnic it was a time management problem with the city,
okay.
so. Looking forward to.
Thanks,
different-
Lindsay.
to different.
No, again, we've pushed for a couple of years now to have a director, a recreation director, and it sounds like,
We're in the
moving forward.
process, we are.
so, were you happy with what the county created?
Yes,
Okay.
so they did create a recreation director position based on what our needs were
Yeah.
that we sent, because it was between supervisor or director. This person is gonna own their budget, own and run the programming. They will be responsible for it.
So it's a
So-
county position?
No, it had to get created through the county
Oh.
for the town of Canandaigua for us to have a position. It is competitive, so there will be qualifications and a list. It's not just gonna be some schmo we hire off the street. They will come with experience.
So you
Awesome.
say that like a civil service?
Yes.
position? Oh, okay.
Mhm. So it's a competitive position, so. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I just
Now
know there's
that's
a
what-
need. We need
I mean,
it.
wasn't it
We
what
need it.
Dennis was, basically?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he was a seasonal, like recreation supervisor.
Yeah, but he did different stuff.
right. He also painted the
Yeah.
trim on the gazebo and he.
He was the do-it-all.
Right,
Yeah.
he
He
weeded-
still is.
Right,
Yeah.
and
He
he weeded-
still is.
Weed whacked the peanut line one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, did they get poison ivy? or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so,
So,
well, good, awesome, so nothing else really I mean, senior program, they're having their Thursdays were moved to Wood Library.
correct, yeah.
And I know they had a couple of different, any other, yeah, it's listed in the newsletter, there's a couple of events coming up.
Yeah, they just had the hoedown today.
Okay.
There's at least one extra special event each month
Yeah.
through the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think the more we continue to talk about it, we'll increase that programming. I know Karen wants to see, she's a voice.
Yeah.
With improving the senior rec program and, we are taking steps to.
Yeah.
improve
Oh, we've
it.
come a long ways, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years.
So when it comes, for example, budget season, I'm gonna increase it, put in a request for a slight increase to add another bus trip on there, and
How many people go on the bus trips?
there's a handful.
Yeah.
The last one for that Monsignor Schnacky, I think there was at least 14,
Mhm.
and they wanna do it again next year, and I want a ticket, because I heard it's fun. And
You
it's
just
for
gotta get older.
adults.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, it's for adults. Just geared towards the senior community.
So any other items that we've missed, anyone wants to add? McKenna, did you get the note? You were supposed to give a speech tonight? Are you all good? No?
Sorry, no speech.
Well, we're good. Next thing then our next meeting, August 24th. Town hall, and that'll roll right into our movie night, the 26th, so. But I think September would be better for
I agree.
the uptown overview from Doug and Shauna or whoever's coming, so. Anything else? Okay. It's longer than I was hoping.
I want to hear about,
Last
how
time?
was it? You drove there with your camper?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Bye, McKenna, bye,
No.
Dan.
See you
See
guys.
ya.
Thanks.
Bye.